Why don't we bring in one of the greats, former Red Sox pitcher, four-time World Series champion, Mike Timlin, joining us here on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston. Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
I'm great. We're talking a little baseball here. When I mentioned that Mike Timlin was coming on the show, the comments were, that guy's nails. Hey, that guy could teach these guys a little something about pitching. Everyone had good things to say. Timlin in the eighth, so a lot of people appreciate what you gave. But I do have to ask that right off the top. Your thoughts on the Red Sox, your thoughts on, analytics in baseball. There's a lot I'm throwing at you right now, but the bullpen pitchers aren't the same as when you came up, my man.
Well, the game has changed a little bit, and it always continues to change. I know the analytics are infiltrated and pretty much embedded in baseball right now. I don't totally understand them. As I understand them, it's everything that I know about pitching and getting things done, but it's quantified into a number, which sometimes you just, and you can talk to many managers, and I'm sure you have, you cannot quantify and you cannot put a number on somebody's heart. And, if someone goes out and pitches with their heart or plays with their heart, you can't put a number on that. And that's what I see that's kind of going away in baseball right now, which is unfortunate. But heck, I don't know. I would like to answer give you a better answer on the team and how they're doing, but I don't get to watch many Red Sox games out here in Colorado.
yeah, I know you were in the booth. I know for a couple of games in the past with Nesson. Did a solid job for them, and should mention Mike's joining us. Him and his wife are riding the Penn Mass Challenge in memory of their good friends Tim and Stacey Wakefield. Great example of the Red Sox family coming together. We'll certainly get into that, Mike, but. Just getting back to it, one of the great analysis from me here, just a guy on the radio, just spewing whatever I want. One of my big things is throw the gas, not the ass. And what I mean by that is a lot of these relief pitchers now aren't throwing the gas anymore. You are a hard thrower, man. But these guys now with the off-speed stuff, the change-ups, those are what the home runs that are given up. Vlad Guerrero recently with first base open goes deep on a change-up, on an off-speed pitch. Do you feel that middle relievers should be throwing more fastballs than off-speed pitches?
I would have to watch more games and analyze it that way to give you a better answer, Joe. But, guys come in, and if they are not capable of throwing, mid to high 90s, which is almost a requirement anymore to pitch in a Major League bullpen, if you are not able to do so, then you have to learn to pitch. And if you're learning to pitch at that level, you are going to get beat up, and you're going to get beat up really fast. The game moves fast. It adjusts fast, with everybody being able to analyze your pitches and what you're doing. Probably by the end of the time you've ended your inning, they already know, how you're going to attack guys next inning. So things change. You have to be able to adapt and go a different direction. If you can't throw strikes with your fastball, and if you can't throw strikes with your breaking ball, you shouldn't be out there. You should be back in AAA and figuring it out, or AA, or however far down you need to go to figure it out. So middle relievers, need to be able to locate a fastball, but you also need to be able to throw your secondary pitches strikes.
Good friend Tony Maserati, who works here at the station, covered the Red Sox for years, mentioned to me that at one point you might have had the most appearances for a right-handed pitcher. How did you stay ready? You got hit almost a 20-year career. How did you stay ready, and how were you able to have those amount of appearances per season?
Well, I looked at it when I went to the ballpark. Being a relief pitcher, I looked at it like I was an everyday player. That was my mindset going in every day. I looked when I got to the field to play, whether it's in the seventh inning, whether it's the eighth inning, whether it's in the sixth inning, whenever, the manager needed me to go in, I would go in. And if you have that mindset going in, you're going to be ready. Unfortunately, some of these guys now, they have pitch counts, and I've run into some relievers in the past 4 or 5 years and talked to them on the field and talked to them in the bullpen, see how they're doing, see how they're feeling. And they're like, well, I can't throw today because I threw yesterday. And I'm like, and I kind of tilt my head and I look at them. I'm like, well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You're a relief pitcher. You should be ready to go every day unless the manager walks up to you and tells you to take your spikes off and don't go to the bullpen. You need to be out there and be ready. I mean, and that's how I was raised in this game. You be ready every day. And if you're not, then don't show up for work.
4-time World Series champion Mike Timlin joining us here on 98.5 The Sports. Mike, I got one more on the Red Sox. I know you're watching from afar. But today, Rafael Devers had a big day. Hit a home run. Red Sox win 5-0. They have a hole at first base. Craig Breslow, one of your former teammates, basically asked him today, would you move to first base or pick up a glove? He essentially said, hey, you've already done this to me. I'm comfortable where I'm at. How did it work for you in your career when, let's say, you were the closer, but we're going to move you now to the 8th inning? Where does that directive come from, and do you think that should have come from the manager?
No. I mean, from the general manager is more than fine where it came from, because the manager usually does with the general manager, and they sit in the office and they have a meeting almost every day, as far as I know, and they did when I was coming up, because they want to know who's hurt, who's able to play, and then make the lineup and go from there. He has to be able to make, the GM has to be able to make, decisions above the field, to move personnel around. I think Craig is doing the right thing to have Devers at first base. I understand that he doesn't want to go to first base, but you have to think when you're moving a position, especially at this level, what's the benefit of the team? It's not about me. It's never been about one person, because not one guy who's ever put that Red Sox uniform on has ever been the greatest ball player to ever live. No one. And you cannot do it by yourself. There's 8 other guys out there. So you have to be able to play for your teammates and play for your team and make it a better team if you move to first base, or if he stays at third base and they move Bregman to second, and I don't know, however it all comes out. But that's the mindset that I think this team needs to adopt, and a lot of other teams need to adopt that also. People got to stop playing for themselves, and they got to start playing for each other. I mean, otherwise there is no team.
You think Alex Cora, your former teammates, the right guy to get that message out to the teammates?
I think he could probably do it. It would be a harsh reality for a lot of these guys if, Alex came in and said, you know what, let's sit down, we're going to have a meeting, and laid it out. But unfortunately, I think some of these guys now have more say, or, more influence, I guess, outside the field, which is unfortunate because, you're just a player. Literally, you're just a piece on a machine. And if that machine's not running correctly, most of the time, the GM or the manager or the owner will step in and go, you know what, you don't fit here, you're out. And we'll find somebody better. You saw it, and you probably saw, when we came up in 2003, when we first got over there, the Red Sox, no one ever wanted to go to the Red Sox because it was always, from what we heard, it was 25 guys and 25 cabs. So no one ever hung out together, and there was no family, there was no brotherhood, there was no team. It was everybody for themselves. And once we got there, we kind of said, let's just start hanging out and see what we can change the culture. And we changed the culture, and we had success. Unfortunately, and I'm not saying these guys don't have a team because I don't know them, but, maybe there's a chink in the armor. If there's a chink in the armor, there's always a way to lose.
I think they're looking ahead down in the minors too much. That's my own opinion. Again, there's these guys coming up, right? Everyone's always looking at, hey, they were coming up when when you came to the Red Sox, the Red Sox were right on the brink, man, right? They were spending money. They were all in. They were chasing the Yankees. It was everything. I don't know if there's a lot of that here now, right? It's always about these young guys,
Culture.
Yep.
At that point, they were starting to change the culture because they were tired of being, the redheaded stepchild and getting beat all the time. Finally they said, let's put some effort into it and challenge the Yankees.
Mm-hmm. I can hear you. You're getting excited talking about baseball. I like this, and I know you're running the pan. You're doing the Pan Mass Challenge, man. It's a bike-a-thon. 162 miles, man, and I commend you. You're doing this for the late Tim and Stacy Wakefield. I know you were friends with the family, and it's really just a great example of the family coming together here. But how the hell do you prepare for 162 miles on a bike? You and your wife are doing this. Like, what are you eating? How are you working out for this thing? Like, I'm out, dude. Hey, ask me. I'll just pay the money.
Well, I kind of look at it, mentally to prepare for this. I look at it like, when I was being a reliever, for the Red Sox. I mean, I tried to be a reliable guy and be there every day. And, if I can go through a little bit of pain and, maybe I'll have a saddle sore, maybe I'll have a blister, maybe my knees will hurt, my back will hurt. If I can make it through 162 games, and me going through a little bit of a pain to see if people don't have to go through pain anymore and we can get rid of cancer, that would be great. I mean, and you're right. We're doing this in honor of Tim and Stacy. Tim was an extremely good friend of mine, and he was quite the example of how to be a Red Sox. And I will try to follow his example probably for the rest of my life. And I'll do it the best I can. I will not do it as well as he did because he was absolutely amazing. But him and Stacy, contributed to not only the community where they lived, but there in Boston and, for kids and for cancer. And, it's ironic that, I lose one of the best friends I've ever had to cancer and his wife, all at the same time. And it's devastating. And if we can, raise some money, for doing this Pan Mass Challenge, and I know they raise a lot of money and they could probably raise a lot of money without us, but, we feel like we're doing a little bit here and there and, maybe somebody doesn't have to go through that pain anymore.
And Mike, people can go to pmc.org and donate they can go directly to your charity?
Absolutely. Go straight to pmc.org. And you can, if you're interested in donating to our team, Team 9, you can search, the members there on Team 9. This has been Team 9's a creation, of the Red Sox and, what they've done with Dane the Farber and, the Jimmy Fund. So I think this is just a great thing.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Yeah, and I love what you're doing for your old teammate, your old friend, and their family, and certainly best wishes to you and your wife. I have one more just baseball question regarding your career. My lifetime, 43. Okay, so I got to watch the Joe Carter home run. I watched the Red Sox, win the World Series in 2004. You've had a lot of great moments in your career. Like those are two of some of the biggest moments in World Series baseball history. Am I missing any along the way? And could you share a little bit about both of those moments?
Well, the save in Toronto, I was a little astonished actually to be back on the team because I had hurt my arm and I had surgery at the end of my first year in 1991, and I finally worked my way back. I had rehabbed and got it back into my elbow correctly, and at the end of 1992, I end up getting the save to win the World Series for the Toronto Blue Jays in 1992, and it was the first time it's ever been off American soil as for the Toronto Blue Jays, which was amazing in itself. And I was just a young kid. I was at the right spot at the right time, throwing strikes. The Joe Carter. You watched the Joe Carter home run. Wow. Yeah, for Joe Carter, when Joe Carter hit the home run, I was sitting in the bullpen next to Mark Eichhorn, who was, another reliever. He came from the Angels, and he was with the Blue Jays for a long time. And Joe swung over a slider that Mitch Williams threw the pitch before the home run. And Mark kind of leans over and punches me in the shoulder. He goes, "Man, if he throws that slider again, he's going deep." And sure enough, the pitch, he threw the same pitch and he hit it. And I looked at Mark, I was like, I can't believe you just said that. Wow. And he literally called that home run. It was pretty cool.
So Eichhorn manifested the Joe Carter walk-off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's absolutely wild.
It was awesome.
And of course, beating the Yankees and winning in 2004, just what was that all like? What was that like for you?
For us to come in and beat the Yankees, of course, it had to have rolled that way. Everything just fell into place. We had to face them in the ALCS. It was almost like, that it's like an old Western, it was just destiny that you have to face, your nemesis or whatever. But, when we came in and they in that ALCS and they rolled us for 3 games, and it was just like, wow. And I didn't pitch in the 3rd game, and we just got our tail kicked. We just decided basically just to try to win one. Don't embarrass ourselves, and do something. And we won that one. And then we kind of figured out, heck, we're a pretty good team, and we're one of the last 2 standing. We might as well, try to play like it. And then the next day we won. And as soon as we got to New York and we walked on the field in New York, to tell you the truth, we could feel that the Yankees were nervous about, us being there. When we won the last 2 games in Boston, it was like, this team is good, and we've been trying to beat them, and we beat them for three straight games, and now, I don't think we could stop them. And that's exactly how we felt. We felt like there was no way they were going to stop us. And then once we, won Game 6, it was I don't even think they really wanted to be on the field in Game 7, to tell you the truth. It was crazy. It was amazing.
Hey, man.
And then,
yeah, and you guys took it right into the World Series, right? Buzzsaw, literally the rest of the way.
Yeah, in St. Louis, they were not ready for what we possessed. And, I grew up playing against Woody Williams. I played with Woody Williams in the Toronto organization. I've known him for so many years, and he was the lead out. He was their pitcher coming in for Game 1, and we just beat the crap out of him. And I felt awful, for him. But I was happy for us, but I felt terrible for my friend. He took a butt kicking, and St. Louis, they just were not ready for the juggernaut that was the Red Sox at that time.
Kiss the ring, baby. That's what I tell all your friends. Kiss the 4 rings that you have. They don't make them like you anymore, man. Of course, when we mentioned you were coming on tonight, and our listeners are excited. Timlin in the 8th, Folk in the 9th. It's just, it goes on and on and on. And appreciate everything you're doing for the Pan Mass Challenge and for your good friends Tim and Stacy Wakefield.
Absolutely, I appreciate having me on and be able to kind of promote this. We're excited to do this. And I know my wife's done it many times. That's how I'm actually able to prepare, Joe, because she can, coach me through it. Right. So as long as I'm coachable, I'll be okay.
Yep, we all need that support. And again, all our listeners, go to pmc.org. You can find Team 9 to donate to Mike Timlin and his wife. Mike, appreciate you talking a little bit of baseball with us. I can hear it. You were excited to do it, my man. Don't be afraid to come back to Boston, man. We love you.
Absolutely. And we'll be back there in June.
You got it. He's a four-time World Series champion, Mike Timlin, joining us here on 98.5 The Sports. Best of luck on the race, Mike.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
You got it. Mike Timlin, everybody.